You know, when Ant-Man was released, it hammered home something that I had started saying about the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever since Guardians of the Galaxy turned out to be a surprise hit. Marvel could probably take any character and turn it into a hit. Ant-Man is actually a super old character from the comics that has strong ties to the Avengers, what with being one of its founding members. For those of you who are more familiar with the movies, the Avengers' starting lineup was Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Ant-Man, and the Wasp. Even Captain America didn't join until a few issues later. Of course, since then, there have been several characters that became Ant-Man to different results, but the movie focuses mostly on the second Ant-Man, Scott Lang, a convicted felon who becomes Hank Pym's protege. And it's a heist film. And it's a comedy. Now, under probably any other studio, this would probably have been either a bloated mess that tries to do too many things at once, or a disrespectful joke. Thankfully, it's neither of these things. I guess I have to address the controversy. With Marvel, you either do the movie that they want to do the way that they want you to do it, or you just don't do it. We've seen directors being released from projects before. For example, Patty Jenkins was the original choice for Thor: The Dark World, and later on Joss Whedon would leave as director of both the third and fourth Avengers films, which were under him going to be called Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. And with this film, the original director was going to be Edgar Wright, before creative differences forced him out, and he was replaced by Peyton Reed. This has led to some people giving Ant-Man undeserved, extremely harsh criticism for really stupid reasons, but I'm going to get back to that later. First, I want to talk about what the movie is before I talk about what it isn't. Ant-Man tells the story of Scott Lang, recently released from federal prison for theft, who is trying to go straight and get his life back on track so he could be part of his daughter's life again. Working against him in this is his ex-wife's new husband, who is a cop, and thinks that Scott isn't to be trusted. He finds things hard as he quickly loses his job at Baskin-Robbins once they find out that he was a felon, and he finds himself unable to get a good job. So he does actually turn back to crime, taking on a job from an anonymous person who wants him to break into Hank Pym's house, bust into a safe, and steal what's in there. But what they find is just the Ant-Man suit, which he doesn't even realize what it is or that it's anything special at all until he tries it on for, reasons, and shrinks down. He's arrested for the theft, but then contacted by Pym, who is actually the one that hired him. Turns out that in the past, Pym had been active as a superhero known as Ant-Man, but he's now retired due to the suit taking a toll on him after so long. He's worked hard to keep his shrinking technology from falling into the wrong hands. People like Tony Stark, or his business rival Darren Cross, who has been trying to replicate it to create the Yellow Jacket, a weaponized shrinking suit that he could sell to the military. Pym's daughter Hope works for Cross as a double agent for Pym and shows a strong propensity for the suit and how to control ants, and wishes to follow in her mother's footsteps as the Wasp. However, Pym is unwilling to do this since the original Wasp, which was his wife, vanished after going subatomic years ago, and he doesn't want to lose his daughter as well. The objective of the main heist is to steal back the technology from Cross before he can perfect it, though of course Cross does perfect it and becomes the main villain Yellow Jacket. Working with Scott are his group of thieves, played up for a lot of comedy. The film is actually surprisingly funny. At times, it's just the right amount of emotional and hinges almost everything on Paul Rudd's comedic chops, as well as Michael Douglas's elder statesman credibility as Hank Pym. Corey Stoll is appropriately smarmy as Yellow Jacket, and Michael Pena has a standout comedic performance as Luis, which was my favorite secondary character from the film. Ant-Man, like a lot of first-run superhero movies in the MCU, does really well at standing alone as well. The only strong connection being Scott attempting to break into the Avengers headquarters and getting into a fight with the Falcon, but the film doesn't really require an encyclopedic knowledge of the MCU to enjoy it. I heavily enjoy this one, and touching back on the director controversy, I kind of really want to side-eye the people who claim that this one sucks, due to the fact that they'll never get to see Edgar Wright's version, which they assume would have been superior, but honestly, from what was said, it all makes sense to me. I mean, Edgar Wright went on record saying that he wanted to make a Marvel movie, but Marvel was not interested in making an Edgar Wright movie, and since in my opinion Wright's films have a lot more flash than substance, I can agree with this decision. I feel that Wright would have concentrated so much more on making the film cool than making it good. And before you know it, we have another goddamn Scott Pilgrim in our hands, and who wants that other than everybody that isn't me? Okay, well, I don't want it. That's the point I was trying to make. I give Ant-Man an 8 out of 10. This is a surprisingly strong entry in the MCU, and gives us a very endearing cast and a very funny, offbeat superhero movie.